Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's show. My name is Anthony Barogas. Look, I can bring that up. Chief Gearhead here at StreamTEK, and you haven't already subscribed, I encourage you to subscribe. We've got these cool glitter stickers for subscribers, and let me take that comment off. As always, I'd love to know where viewers are watching from. We're going to start today's stream a little slower today. It's been a while. I was on a trip in Colorado and got to ride a steam engine, and that was a lot of fun. So just made it back yesterday and had a lot to prepare for today's show. Let's take that off. And looking forward to a discussion about the NewTek Tricaster. So without further ado, let me just put a disclaimer in there that this is not sponsored by NewTek, VizRT, or any reseller. I own the Tricaster that I'm talking about. I have owned it for almost 10 years, and it was used when I bought it. Tricaster has been around for several decades. It is a well-worn thing, well-established tool. So I'm not being paid to promote it. I'm not actually promoting. I'm just talking about it. I'm not being compensated in any way. So everything that I'm going to show you today, I actually own. It's my product, so it's not being sponsored or given to me in any way. Hey, cool. Jeremy is watching from the show floor at Infocom. Well, thank you for giving me your attention. I appreciate that. I don't know how to say your name, but you're watching from India. It's got to be like, what o'clock in the morning? Anoop, thank you. Thank you. He says that in another comment. Anoop from India. Thank you very much for being here. I guess the Tricaster is something that interests you. I'm curious how many of the audience may already have experience with the NewTek Tricaster. I did a previous show on vMix, which is just software, and then you build the hardware. Today, we're going to talk about, let's do me over. Today, we're going to talk about the NewTek Tricaster, and you'll have to excuse me if I say NewTek Tricaster because it's only recently that VizRT has purchased NewTek. So it's technically right now the VizRT Tricaster, but I've said the NewTek Tricaster for well over a decade. It's probably 20 years. So it's going to take a little while for me to transition to this. Also, if you'll notice, VizRT, it's just a really odd name. VizRT says their name is VizRT, but they don't capitalize the RT. I capitalize the RT to remind me to say RT as opposed to VizRT, because when it's all lowercase, I just say VizRT. And apparently at NAB, I learned that was wrong. So VizRT and NewTek Tricaster is going to be today's show. If you don't know what the Tricaster is, it's basically a live switching production tool. If you've watched other videos on this channel, I have talked about all-in-one switching devices, the Duet, just switching hardware. But switching on a computer goes back to the late 90s when NewTek created the video toaster, which ran in an Amiga. And you could bring in 4 composite standard definition sources, switch them, and output a switched feed. And you could either do that with $20,000 hardware or this $4,000 board in an Amiga. So it was like mind-blowing that you were able to do that with consumer hardware and this board. Fast forward a bunch of years, and they've come out with their own hardware, the NewTek Tricaster. And they have different models. They've had, square standalone machines, and all of these machines are basically Windows PC computers. They run Windows. But they're configured in such a way that anything that is not essential to running the Tricaster software, the NewTek software, has been turned off or eliminated. So it's a very custom version of Windows, and it literally boots right into the application, and then the application will boot right into your show, whatever your last show was. So you can treat it like a dedicated piece of hardware, and that's intentional because they're put in dedicated boxes with dedicated video inputs. And yes, it is a Windows machine. That's the underlying OS. But in so much as using a YOLO box is an Android tablet. It is an Android tablet, but you don't use it as an Android tablet. You don't go browsing the web. You don't go playing, a game on it. You use it as an appliance. And the same can be said for the NewTek Tricaster. It's a Windows PC, but you use it as an appliance. You buy it to be this video switching tool. We got a couple more hellos, as always. I love to see what streaming questions do you have? They do not have to be limited to the TriCaster, but that's going to be the topic for today's show. And if you're just tuning in, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. And so, welcome everyone. Anup is watching from India. Jovika is watching in Serbia. And it's pronounced VizRT. Yes, that is why I capitalized the R and the T to remind me to say VizRT. But when they make it all lowercase, not indicating that the R and the T are separate, I go VizRT. It's not my fault. That's a weird name, and they don't visually differentiate the R and the T separately from the VizRT. How are you from Saudi Arabia? Abdullah in Saudi Arabia. Welcome. Do I have anybody watching from the US today? Maybe it's just Jeremy watching from the floor at Infocom. So thank you everyone for tuning in today. Wow, international audience galore. Hi from Finland. Ville. I'm sorry if I said it wrong. But Mr. Luko, thank you for watching from Finland. Little bit about me. I write for Streaming Media Magazine, and I have been in the business for a while. Let's go to overhead, and let's do that one. Streaming Media Magazine. So if you wanted to read about NDI, I did an article, cover article years ago in Streaming Media about NDI. I don't really have anything to show on the overhead camera, so it's really small. And that is just all of this gear is, gosh, this article is 3 years old. And right there in the center, right there, that's my TriCaster. And that is what we're going to be using. What I'm going to be using for today's show is the TriCaster right there. You can see it on this monitor. But I have both of the inputs coming into the show today, and I'm not using anything else that's in this photo, just that. I'm not using that camera or those, actually that's my Sony. Nope, nothing else there. And also, come over here. If you are watching, I am streaming to LinkedIn, I'm streaming to X, I am streaming to Twitch, I am streaming to Facebook and YouTube. And if you're watching on any of the other platforms, do know that you can get all of the content on the StreamTEK YouTube channel. That's the primary destination for all this content. And so you can find it at StreamTEK or Stream Technology, if it, because there's a lot of StreamTEKs. There's a lot of them on YouTube. So just look for the purple and yellow. That's me. And there you can find several playlists. I'd like to point out is that we have a conversation series with producers. You can find a bunch of shorts, NAB content. All the live shows are right here in their own playlist. When we talk about technology explanations, like I explain NDI, those are available in the technology explanations, and then gear demos, where I talk about a specific piece of gear, they're all over there in different channels. And you can also find them right here on the home channel. So vMix HD was the last live show, did a show on AirMix, 10 cameras in a Magewell Director Mini, right there. So there's lots of technology on here. If you're new to streaming, looking to get up to speed, trying to figure out which way is the best way to go, this is a great way to find out. Also know that on Facebook, close that, close that. You can, yeah, my internet connection was restored. We can, there's a StreamTEK page and there's a StreamTEK group. You know, the group says group on the side. You can join the StreamTEK page and be notified of things going on, a little bit of behind the scenes stuff and things like that. Also, that actually is available on the StreamTEK community as well. There's a community where I post some behind the scenes things I'm working on and things like that. You can join the community there. And it's kind of like Facebook. You can comment and everything. Based on last week's show, I created a group about AirMix. It has 3 members already. And that is an iOS-based tool for live switching multiple cameras. And you could do it on an iPad. You can do it with 2 phones. That's all you need. And Teradek, a well-regarded company in the broadcast space, created this app. Actually, it's a series of apps. And they sort of went to focus on hardware and made this available for free. It was a paid subscription tool, and the rest of them are all subscription tools, but they made this one free. So for those looking to dabble in live streaming, looking to get into it and figure out their space and their lighting and their microphones and all this stuff, this is a great little tool that you can utilize using old hardware because it hasn't been updated in years. So using older hardware is actually appropriate because that's what it was used on. And that can get you up to speed. Emmanuel jumps in and says, watching from Cape Verde, West Africa. Thank you for chiming in there. Thank you very much. If you're just tuning in, I'd love to know where everyone is watching from. And if you have any types of streaming questions, audio, lighting, streaming, CDNs, whatever, PTZs, YOLO Box, Director Mini, ATEM or whatever, I will do my best to answer them. I'm not an expert on everything, but I know a little bit after being in the business for 20 years. So feel free to throw in any streaming questions you may have into the chat, because I have the chat in front of me the whole time so I can see what you're saying. You can just say hi, you can let me know where you're watching from, or you can ask a question. Continuing on over here, we've got AirMix. Then, as I said, I also write for Streaming Media Magazine. You can go to streamingmedia.com and then click on the producer, which will take you to this page, Streaming Media Producer, and you can sign up for email newsletters, which means all the content that gets published there, articles, reviews, conference information, and things like that. And the Connect conferences are free, so you don't even, and they're online, so you don't even have to like travel or pay anything. You can sign up for those right there and get them in your email box. And if you're looking for consulting or assistance, you can reach me. That's a really odd thing on the bottom. Pow. You can reach me right here at stream4.us. That's my website. And then up there, there's a contact page. You can reach me on the contact page. And lastly, if you want to buy some gear, I would welcome you to purchase said gear from the Videoguys StreamTEK Curated store. I get a percentage. It's an affiliate, page on this store, and I'm just being upfront right there. So if you go to this page, like if you wanted to get the YOLO Box Pro or the Ultra or a PTZ camera or some Kilo View gear, compressor tools, you can get those at Videoguys, and I get a piece. You don't pay anything extra. It just helps me out. And I think that is it for that. What we're going to talk about today, go back to this. What we're going to talk about today is the NewTek Tricaster. And I will bring up their webpage. Let me bring that up. Not that one. So they have several different models, but the one I'm going to talk about is the Tricaster Mini. Now the Mini is limited to 4 physical inputs depending on the model you get, because they have the Mini 4K, which is highlighted on that webpage right now. The Mini 4K has, at the time that I last used it, I don't know what the current model is, it had multiple Ethernet connections, and being an NDI tool, it's all about networking. So it didn't have any physical HDMI or SDI connections. So that's why they came out with the Mini X and the Mini Go, which do have physical HDMI and other physical connections that you can plug them in. The model I have is called the Mini HD, and there was also a Mini SDI. So it had SDI inputs on the front, and mine has HDMI inputs on the front, and I have that right. Did you go to sleep? You did. Let me fix that. This is what happens when you use, try to put your show together, or you come up with something at the last minute, just before the show starts. There we go. So, there we go. That's my Tricaster Mini. That's literally on the floor next to me, right here. And as you can see, let me go over top. Right here, I've got 4 HDMI inputs on the front, and then I've got 2 HDMI outputs for program. There's a line audio input, there's a microphone input, a headphone output, and then a left and right program output. These are all physical inputs on the front of the device. And like if you look at the ones that they have now, they still have the audio inputs, but the other inputs have moved to the back of the device, so they're not on the front. But you can see that the box. You know, this is on the VizRT page. It says Tricaster, but the box still says NewTek. So I'm not the only one still calling it NewTek. So that is one of the models that they've got going on there. And if you can click on the Mini X and the Mini Go. So that one just has USB inputs on the front. And this one says VizRT on the front of the box. So they're in the midst of the transition too. They, VizRT and NewTek have joined forces to become VizRT. See, they don't go VizRT. That's where I get the name. And to control these things, you can purchase a control surface like this. You can get third-party control surfaces. This one's $5.95. This one's $24.95. Or you can scroll down and get their VizRT control surfaces at like $2,500, $4,000. But you can see this. This is a very complicated control surface. You don't have to get a control surface like that to control your Tricaster. You can just use a keyboard and mouse, which is what I'm going to be using for today. You can control them with a StreamTEK. You can control them with third-party hardware. You can get central control and basically hook them to anything. There is Scarhoy makes controllers that will control your Tricaster. So when you're looking to control it, you can start with a keyboard and mouse. Because it is a Windows machine, your keyboard and mouse will get you there and do pretty much everything. Then when you need to start switching faster and get more direct access to things, that's when you can add a control surface, and that will add cost, but there's many different ways that you can go to do it. Emmanuel says, hello, y'all, watching from Cape Verde, West Africa. I think I got you. And a new one came in. Jovika says, have you tried Top Director on iOS? I have not tried Top Director, but I'm actually working with them to put something together that is in progress already. So stay tuned. That will be coming up in the next week or two. But thank you for pointing something out. I appreciate that. Continuing on with the Tricaster, let us talk about what it looks like. Yes, I just plugged in a network. Let me put this full screen so that I can actually set a location. Let's call it, because it is a Windows machine and I just plugged in. Close. Okay, so this is the interface. And actually, let me close this ME. So if you've ever seen a video switcher, you've got your program bus across the top. You can see that's what's active. And then you can see your preview bus at the bottom. I have 8 inputs. Now you're wondering, I said at the beginning it's a 4-input switcher, but there's 8 inputs here. That's because it also, NewTek invented NDI. and NewTek made the Tricaster. So the Tricaster, all the Tricasters can do NDI. So you can have 4 physical inputs, which, like I showed you, I have 4 physical inputs plugged into the front of this thing. But at the same time, I can have 4 more inputs over NDI. And because I have 4 inputs, let's go to input 4. We're going to configure and source. You can see I've got a PTZ optics camera. Let's go grab that one. There it is. So there is a camera right there. You can see there's a little bit of delay because anything working over a network is going to have a little bit of a delay. And you can see click close. So that one is not that input right there, input 4. I don't know. Oh, that's that bad cable. That's going to keep blinking, isn't it? I got a wonky HDMI cable and I had not ironed it out before this happens. Urgh. So which one is that? Maybe if I just unplug TC1 here, it'll force the device there into the other camera because I have both cables connected. Let's hope this cable holds. You can see I've got my 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I got DDR1, input 2. So this interface that you have here with the audio mixer, the switcher, sources, preview, and program, this is configurable. So you can easily just come right up here and say, here's my workspace. And do I want it to look like this, this, this? So you can have it set up for more inputs over here. So if I wanted to see all 8 of my inputs, so here's input 4, input 5, input 6, input 7, input 8. Oh, did I change 4? Yeah, I probably did. 4, input. Yeah, I did. Let's do 4 goes to input 4, right there. I say close. And then 5, so that one is right there. That is a SDI, actually HDMI output from a camera right there. And then for input 5, I'm going to come down here and I'm going to reconfigure that to be the PTZ optics channel 1. There it is. And then I have another bird dog camera way back there. Let's see if I can add that one on 6. Configure. So you can see it's actually Tricaster. I don't need the output of my Tricaster. NDI HX2. We're going to click on that. We say close. Then we're going to see if that comes up on. Did I click that on 6? Boom, boom, boom. Oh, if it's HX3, it's actually not going to show up on this Tricaster. This one's too old. But I have the ability to have all 8 of my inputs, but then your camera inputs are usually not the only thing you need to show. So there's built-in video players, and there's 2 different video players. There's DDR1 for digital disc recorder 1 that you could load up with clips, and then on the other side, there's DDR2. So I can load clips up on either of these, and I can go from one side to the other because they're 2 different sources. Each one, like this one on DDR1, if I started playing, I have 2 clips in here, and I have a list mode engaged right here. So it'll literally go through all of the items, one after the other, which means it's basically going to finish playing this one, play that one, and it'll cycle through them. So I can cycle through all of these different lists. That doesn't seem very functional at first, because it's like, well, I can have 3 videos playing here, and then I can have 3 videos lined up over here, or I can play each one in turn. But what if I have the more to go with a show? I need to have more stuff ready, and I need to like segment it and have it like that. The Tricaster, you hardly notice it, but way over here on the very edge, there's a little bar with an arrow, and it's over here, and it's on the edge of all of these different things. So what you can do is you can have multiple different scenes or sets of data. Right here, there's 12 different sets of data. So if I'm doing an awards show and I need to have different clips ready, And then after each award, I need to have 5 other clips and another award. I need 5 more clips and then another award and 5 more clips. I could just come over here and just go to the second set and then the third set and then the fourth set and the fifth set and then go back to the first set. And there's my media. It's at the ready. The same with your switcher. I can have a bunch of different preset scenes with different layouts and different setups all at the ready here. So the system has gone through, I'll say, decades of refinement, because the Tricaster has been around for so long that each of these, the way this is laid out, all the little nuances, all the little things that you can do have been established, built, and refined over time. It's very different than some of the tools that I talk about on this show, which are very new, just coming out, still being, you know, new features being added because they're so new, they don't have these features at all. The Tricaster is kind of like the opposite. It's been around for 20 years, and a lot of what's in here has been put in, tweaked, refined, bugs killed, and established many, many years. So you can see up here, here's my DDR1, here's my countdown timer. I've got controls to jump ahead, jump back, pause it, and things like that. I've got an audio meter on here. I've got audio meters on each of my inputs. I've got audio meters on the program window right here. So when it switches back to the first clip, which has audio, you can see the audio is playing here. I've got the ability to stream and encode. You can see my audio level, my ability to record, which is separate from streaming and encoding, is set up there. I can grab a frame, gives me a universal clock, messages, and then I can export. I can take a file that I've recorded and export it as something else. So that is like a basic introduction to the Tricaster. Let's see if there are any questions coming in about the Tricaster, because, like I says, you know, this is a live show. You are here, I am here, we're here together. And the advantage of being here at the live show is that you can ask questions. So if there's something that you see that you want more information about, if there's a question that I haven't even touched on yet, and you want to say, well, what about this or what about that? Ask it in the comments, because this is a live show. We're here together, and it's like you're standing here next to me and say, well, what about that? That's the advantage of being here for the live shows. This will be edited down later and just highlighting just on the content part, but the event, for those of you who are here on the live show, this is where you get to say, I saw this, but what about that? That's the advantage of being here for the live shows. So let me continue along. Over here you can see there's a couple different things. I have my digital disc recorder. I also have a graphics, so I can bring in stills, I can bring in transparencies, PNGs, I can bring in all kinds of graphics. So these all sit here, and then of course I can have them cycle through. So if I want to do a pre-show thing, I can have a pre-show go through 20 different slides, play automatically. There's a gear icon. I can adjust, like, what is the transition between each slide? How long does each slide stay up, and things like that. And then, like I was saying, you can have all of these different sets of data up here. So your pre-show, and then as soon as the pre-show is done, okay, we're going to go to break, the first break. Let me go to the second set. Then I can go to the third set, and then I can go to the fourth set. So that is, again, available in each of these pockets. Then when you click on sound, you can play sounds. So you can load this up with MP3s, waves, whatever type of audio you want. And again, that's over there on the side. You can create a list. So if your pre-show graphics also is going to have 3 different audio clips that you want played in a loop, this is where you would do it. Then how do you determine how loud that sound is in the audio mixer. There's a full-on audio mixer which has the ability to adjust all of your inputs. All of these cameras can be coming in with audio. And then here's your DDR1, your DDR2. Remember, we talked about that over here. And on the other side, those have their own channels. Here's your sound channel. There's an effects channel, aux1, aux2. So those are the inputs on the outside of the Tricaster. And then, let me switch over here, aux1, aux2, aux3, and then there's your phones and your master output. So what you're listening to is going to be different than what your master output is. And then of course you've also got your, I should say these are aux outputs, and you can affect those by going into your audio channel, and then you can route things to different channels. So there's a lot of capability. It just looks like a simple stereo audio mixer. It is not. There's a whole lot going on here. There's also processing you can do in terms of an equalizer, compressor and limiter, a noise gate, and various triggers. When certain thing gets a certain level, do this. So you can have a microphone at a door or, at a certain place that when something happens and it gets over the noise gate there, that will trigger an audio. So you can have video follows audio. When somebody's talking on camera 2, when this triggers over the noise gate, then cut to this video built in. And then here's your input settings over here, so you can adjust your levels, adjust the pan, adjust the gain of each, and set the source for that particular channel. Let me close that. Question has come in. Why do you think a switcher like the Tricaster Mini costs so much in comparison to a switcher like the Blackmagic Design Mini, or even Constellation switchers with way more inputs and outputs? That is a very good question. And the answer is, the Tricaster is not just a switcher. Because like you can have a Tricaster, the Tricaster Mini in the Blackmagic Design Mini. I have one. That's what actually I'm using a Mini Extreme ISO to switch what's behind me or, next to me, or even the Constellation switches, because you can't play back a video from an A10 Mini. You can't play back 2 sets of video and play back audio and create graphics and titles and overlays and virtual environments and move within those virtual environments. And now with the certain extreme ISOs, you can do recording, but you can stream and record multiple channels in the Tricaster as well. It's all internal. You're not recording to an external hard. I mean, you could, but you have to do all that externally. So if you want to compare them, take your A10 Mini Extreme ISO and then add the cost of the device that's doing playback on 1, the device that's doing playback on 2, the device that's playing your graphics, the device that's playing your audio, the device that's doing your ISO recordings, and you keep going with that. It's all built in with the Tricaster. The A10 Mini does not do NDI, so you're not going to get networked inputs into it. There's a lot built into this. It looks like it costs a lot, but if you did a direct comparison with, say, vMix, which is a software tool, but then you went to build a hardware box that would do everything that vMix needs to do. vMix is going to be at the high end $1,200, but then you're going to spend another $2,000 on the box that's going to be able to do what that does. And then you are going to, so you're already $3,500 in. The base Tricaster Mini starts around $5,000. You can also find them used. And for $5,000, you get the PC and you get the Tricaster, which it's already built. Like I said, when you boot it up, oh, it's over here now. When you boot it up, you get an interface. You plug in an input. You sit there and you say, oh, did you go to sleep? You're not working now? There it is. Okay. I can go input 1, enter, input 2, enter, input 3, enter, input 4, enter. I'm using my keyboard to do that. I'm using this to switch it. And I plug in 4 inputs. I start hitting 1, 2, 3, and 4. I hit the return button. I'm switching. I didn't have to build anything. Whereas vMix, you have to then spend time. Time is money. You have to spend time to build whatever setup you're going to do to switch your inputs. And vMix, I forgot, you spent $2,000 on a PC. You also need input output. So add another whatever for your I/O card. This is an 8 input switcher. Well, you're going to need to do, what are you going to do? Okay, it's 4 physical inputs. So you need to add a, decklink quad to your vMix system. And then, of course, this has 2 outputs. So you're going to need 2 output cards. And this is all built into the Tricaster already. It's comparable. It's priced fairly reasonably for what it does, because it does a lot. It's a good question, but you have to look at the entire package. Why does the Tricaster cost so much compared to an ATEM? Well, because an ATEM doesn't do 1/3 of what the Tricaster does. And the Tricaster is a box. You just basically plunk it down on the table, plug your stuff in, and start doing a show. Yes, you can do that with an ATEM, but you still have to set up your playback 1, your playback 2, your all of these things down here, your audio mixer. You've got that in the interface. Whereas if you want to actually do all of this with the audio mixer for an ATEM, you have to add a laptop to do that. So even just to access your audio mixer, like I have right here, you're going to need another laptop. How much does the laptop cost? Add all those costs together to get the functionality here. Then you're going to see you're going to end up about the same price, possibly even more, plus functionally getting to an event and getting set up. Putting this on a table, plugging stuff in, you're ready to go in minutes. Whereas to get all of your playback devices, all of your laptops all configured, your network, set up and running with an ATEM is going to take longer. Rick, hey Rick, good to see you there. I'm moving the wrong mouse. Rick says, come here. Black Magic Design won't have NDI probably ever. And I agree with Rick. There has been years where Blackmagic could have implemented NDI, and they haven't. There's 2 competitors to NDI, which is Dante AV. That's getting some traction. And SMPTE 2110. SMPTE 2110 has been around for several years, but only this year in 2024 have they finalized several different aspects of the specification. And when they did that, Blackmagic jumped on board and says, we're in. They've got a 2110 converters, input output. They've got a 2110 Ethernet switch, because 2110 is like uncompressed video over Ethernet. So one source, you can have 3 sources and you've saturated, one source and you've saturated a gigabit switch. You need to have a 10 gigabit switch to be able to handle multiple sources. And the backplane on the switch has to be able to handle, tens of gigabits of data back and forth. So 2110 is a whole order of magnitude more expensive and harder, but you're dealing with, mostly uncompressed video over Ethernet, whereas NDI is all compressed, but you can use switches and Ethernet, ports you have now. So I can use the 1 Ethernet port in the Tricaster and I can bring in 4 cameras. That's not an issue. Whereas trying to do 4 2110 cameras over a single gigabit switch is not going to happen. Not at all. But yeah, BMD has they've staked their claim in the 2110 camp, and I agree with Rick that they are not going to do NDI ever, which basically means all of the NDI hardware and capability that's out there, Blackmagic will not ever take advantage of. So thank you, Rick, for chiming in there. Let us continue on a little bit. Did you go to sleep? Okay, I'll do it over here. Boop, boop, boop. No. Go away. Continuing on, you can see that we talked about the audio mixer right here and the ability to mix all these channels. You can have, it will work with MIDI, and I think it also works with USB controls, so that you can actually add a control surface to this if you wanted to, a dumb audio mixer, but it will control these things remotely or external to the device. So you can give that to someone else and they can physically move the audio mixer controls. Continuing over here, you've got your DDR2, which is over here, and now it switches back to whatever this was, which is my sounds. Here's my DDR1. You've got your graphics buffers. Whoops, did not want to collapse that. Again, the space is configurable so that you can show what you want to show and move things around as well. And when you hook up other external outputs on the back of the Tricaster, you can have other windows. I would show that, and I had that set up, but because that one cable was flaky, I'm now using the second output. But you can set up a second window with just all your preview inputs, or you can set up a second input with scopes, or you can set up a second, output. You can set up a second output with scopes. You can set a second output with all of your sources, just the sources, so that a director can just be looking at the sources and call a show, whereas the technical director who's pushing the buttons has this interface. You can set up just programs, so somebody can just sit and do quality control on the program itself. And then over here are my buffers. So I've created a buffer right here. This is a title, so I can bring this in, and there's my title, and there it goes out. And those titles, there's lots of content baked in. Dissolves, different transitions, but more so in terms of graphics. I wanted to have time to actually try and build a 3D environment, since I've got the green screen here, to actually drop me into a 3D environment, because extended reality and virtual reality is all the rage these days, but the Tricaster has been doing that for 10 years. You could drop a person into an environment. I'll try to do it. You could drop a person into an environment, and then you could use the T-bar to move in the environment. The virtual environments have been built into the Tricaster. Like it's new everywhere else. It's like, oh my goodness, this is so amazing. The Tricaster has been doing it for over a decade. You can go in here and drop me into behind a desk that doesn't exist, with a monitor next to me that doesn't exist, put content on that monitor, and then move closer to me or further away from me to include the monitor. You can move this environment around, whether you want to be in the corner, offset, so you have the monitor. You can change that view, and then you can have multiple versions of that set, so that you can cut close to me with just a corner of the monitor appearing. You can cut to a side view, so then I can turn over here, and there's a different set. There's all different things you can do, all built into the Tricaster. Going back to the why is it more expensive than an ATEM? That's a reason. Another comment came in. Oh, that's. I've got 3 different pointer devices on this table. If I have an NDI-capable PTZ camera and it's connected to the same network as the Tricaster, will I have control of the PTZ functions of the camera from the Tricaster interface as well as the NDI video? Yep. The only thing you need to watch out for is the NDI cameras coming out today use NDI 3, HX3, I should say. My Tricaster is old, and it understands HX1 and HX2, but not HX3. So like I tried to actually connect to a camera that is just HX3, and it did not show up in my older Tricaster. So if you're looking to purchase something that's used, you need to be aware that the newest PTZ cameras are going to be using HX3 because it's really cool, effective, fast, and good, and low bandwidth. But they're not going to be, that codec is not going to be understood by an older used Tricaster that came out and was built before that technology became available. Now, you could possibly, say VizRT should come out with an update that would make all of these machines understand the new codec. But they're also in the business of selling gear. So buy new gear. At the same time, the gear that was built 5 years ago has a certain amount of horsepower to it. And to ask it to now understand this more complex and more CPU intensive codec could make it harder to do the whole feature set that it's able to do. And one of the key things about the Tricaster is reliability, and everything that it can do everything, all of it, all the time, for days, for years. It'll just keep doing all of it. To now say, oh, well, I want you to do this more complex thing that you weren't built to do. In addition to all the things you do, you can kind of risk the stability of that system. So it kind of goes both ways. You could say, well, just do a software upgrade, but at the same time, you're not doing the hardware upgrade that would make it capable of doing those more complex tasks. So NDI video is a variable. That's why I'm going into that. NDI video is a variable, and you can get an older Tricaster, but if you then get an Osbot PTZ camera, it's not going to see it. Or if you got the new Bird Dog X series, my old Tricaster doesn't even see it because it's HX3 and it doesn't understand HX3. If you were to get a new Tricaster, then it's going to be built to today's standards. It's going to understand NDI 6. It's going to understand HX3. It's going to be able to do all of that. It's also going to have newer hardware, a better video card than 5 years ago or whatever. So yes, if you have an NDI PTZ camera and it's connected to the same network as the Tricaster, will I have control over the PTZ functions? Absolutely. And I even did a show about this several weeks ago. You can go to the YouTube page, and I used this Tricaster, and I showed how you could have 16 cameras or 16 presets. The Tricaster lets you line up 4 across and 4 down different preset shots from an NDI camera, and it shows them. You actually take, here, let me go over here. You can set up one of these windows over here to be your preset shots, and then you just click on the shot that you want. Click, 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 click. Like this one, here we go. This one is a PTZ camera. So I can click on this. Hey, let me clear the screen a little bit and make this a little bigger. Let's go to 2. So if I come over here to this input and I say, I want the device's web page, you know, I can log into that camera. I can do everything I need. In addition, once I set those presets for that camera, I can then come over here and say, it's been a minute since I've done this, so give me a sec. Input 5. I want to come over here on 6 and say 6. Oh no, this one I'm going to say you are input 5, but source presets. So that's how I would do that. So now you can see if I had presets on that camera, I'd be able to say, go to 1, go to 2, go to 3, go to 4, right there. And then what I have done, and if you go back to that other show, I had my cameras lined up here, 1 camera, 2 camera, 3 camera, and 4 camera. And then I had my presets for each of those cameras lined up underneath. So I was switching, you know, multiple PTZ cameras. I was switching multiple PTZ cameras on the top with all the presets I had at the bottom, and it made it easy to both see what was coming and where I wanted to go. And then, like I says, with just a standard keyboard, I can say 2, 3, 2, 1, and then I hit the enter key. Take it, take it, take it, take it, take it, take it. And you don't need a fancy control surface because your function key is your program bar, your number keys are your preview bar. So as you move across 6, 7, 8, and then you got your DDRs and things like that, you can access all those from here. And then if you wanted to do a cut, that's an enter. If you wanted to do a dissolve, that's the space bar. You know, as I said, the Tricaster has had years of figuring this stuff out, and, you know, working with people who are using the Tricaster to develop the best workflow and make it work in a way that makes sense and is obvious to the end user. G. Brady Media says he's in Westchester, New York. Thank you very much for chiming in. I appreciate you being here. So that means that, yeah, yes, you can indefinitely control your PTZ camera. I haven't set the pan, tilt, and zoom control here, but you can have those available to you right there. And I encourage you to go back and look at that show. Let's see if I can find it. Videos? Because that was pretty much, it directly answers your question with regards to controlling multiple PTZ cameras from your Tricaster. And of all the different tools, I think the Tricaster for me even does it better than trying to do it in vMix. Oh, I didn't create a standalone video on that, so it's going to be in the live shows. And that is a great way where you can make it do what you want it to do in a way that works for you, because you can arrange this how you want. You know, cameras across the top, cameras across the bottom, and things like that. Got a couple comments coming in. Comparing to vMix in the stage of software switcher. I did that. You could scroll back about 10 minutes and I compared them. They're very comparable. The Tricaster has a set interface. That's both a strength and a weakness. vMix does not have a set interface. You can build it to do whatever you want it to do. That's both a strength and a weakness. Strength in that you can do more things through vMix. Weakness, you have to figure out how to do those things and then build it so that it will do those things. Whereas the Tricaster, it's literally put it on the table, turn it on, plug something in, hit the one, hit return, done. vMix, you know, in addition to needing the hardware, you need to load that show. You need to build that show to take that input and send it to the output at a particular resolution. vMix, the Tricaster is designed so that, you know, if I'm doing a show regularly, I can have that show there, it just works. I can go in, I can build something, and it just pops up. I will actually back out of it and show you how it boots up too, because it's actually kind of interesting. Another comment come in. What can it do that vMix can't? Because a StreamTEK told me that is better vMix. I will say that vMix is more configurable. I have a vMix license. I've been using vMix for years as well. vMix is a great tool, but vMix is not as standalone as this. You know, like I was saying, that this interface is standard. So if you're used to working in this interface with your sources, your preview, your program bus, your multi-view window, preview and program over there on the right, this is what you get with the Tricaster. This is the Tricaster interface. It doesn't matter if you spend $21,000 for a control surface and you spend $10,000, or you buy a used one from 10 years ago. This is what you're going to get. This is a standard. And NewTek used to actually have a license, a training program where you could get Tricaster certified, and then you would be on their list of operators in various cities. So it's like, oh, I need a Tricaster operator, a certified Tricaster operator in Chicago on this date. You can look on that list, contact the person, and they've gone through training. Actually taken tests, passed the tests on how to use this, and you can go there confident in knowing that they're going to sit right down and do everything you need to be done because they know it. I haven't seen that recently. I went looking for it. I could not find that page anymore, but that was something that NewTek had available on their website to, you know, make people confident in the system, because the system is a standard. Another comment comes in. I love the Tricaster ways of doing things, but in today's live streaming iMag confidence monitoring, I wish it had more outputs. 2 is not enough. I use the SDI Extreme, which has 4, and that helps a lot. Yes, the Mini only has 2 outputs. Technically, you can use one of the monitors as an output as well, so 3. The higher end systems have more outputs, but then again, they're also more costly. So you kind of get what you pay for, but yes, if certain needs may not be met by the Tricaster. Tricaster is one of the many tools that are out there. If I needed a battery operated multi-camera switcher that could work on top of my camera, the Tricaster is not that tool. The YOLO box or the Magewell Director Mini is that tool. So yes, there are different tools for different needs. If you need, every input to be available and every output, then an ATEM Constellation is probably a great tool, because that's not what the Tricaster does. Tricaster kind of does what it does, and it does it very well. But what I wanted to show is the boot up, because one of the key things with regards to the Tricaster is, I'm moving the wrong mouse again. One of the key things that I wanted to show is, I was talking about the workspaces, so you can set up your different workspaces here. You can do macros. One of the key things I always wanted to test is you can have a camera overhead, and when you touch certain areas on the table in front of you, you can trigger macros. Like if you want to do your title, you would just need to wave your hand in a certain space like that, and your title would come up. Of course, it would come up every time you waved your hand in that space, but that would be kind of cool. Different options. Like one of the options I did recently was you can actually set it up so that you don't even need to use this. Let me click over here. You don't even need to use the preview and program bar. You could just click on the inputs, just tap, 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 tap. And if you're working on if you added a touch screen to the Tricaster, you just like tap this, tap that, tap this, tap that. So you're working like an all-in-one, except you've got the horsepower of a real computer. But what I wanted to show was, I'm going to exit out of this. Exit. Yes, we went to exit. So we're going to exit out of this show. It's just a demo show. And you can do different things here. You can manage your shows. You can create graphics. I'm going to back out of this again. You can see different shows. So if you have different talk shows with different graphics, different virtual sets, different video playback, all those different things can be saved in different sets. You can add on things. You can create a new session from scratch. I'm going to go to shutdown. And I'm gonna restart the Tricaster here. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I wanted to demonstrate that I do have third-party software on there, and I've changed the startups, the desktop background. It's going to restart. So when you come to an event and you're like, let me put this on a table and start it up. This is still shutting down. It's going to take a minute. It's Windows. The nice thing is it's going to automatically go right back into the show that you did last. So here it is. You can see this is booting up PNY GeForce GT740. Yes, honest to goodness, that's old hardware. And it does so much. Launch Tricaster. I'm still not touching it. It's just going to go right into it after so many seconds. And, so one of the key things is you think about in terms of deploying a team to a live event that you've set up. You did your tech checks and you built the show and you've got your graphics loaded for the client and all that stuff. You did all that in your studio, and then you go out to the hotel, you put this on the table, you hit the power button, and you walk away. So here it is. You can see at the top, I'm going to be opening that thing in 11 seconds. I haven't done anything. I literally put it on the table. It knows what my last show was and is going to literally cycle through and open that show by itself. So that means that I don't have to have somebody sitting there doting over the computer to make sure that everything opens like it's supposed to. The Tricaster is, like I said, designed and refined and built for people who do this for a living. And it's going to, this part takes a while. So that you can focus on getting your camera set up, working with the client and, making sure that, your audio and everything is set up. And then here we are, we're back in the show exactly where I left it. I can come down here and start my pre-show playback. and then go to DDR1. Actually, I didn't have to like click play. It would have happened as soon as I hit the enter key. There it goes, and now that's, you know, playing back, and then I can come up here and I can hit the stream button, I can hit the record button, and we're off to the races. Down here, you've got two different encodes for stream. Right now, I've got them set to record the stream, but you can send them to various social media, RTMP, wherever you want. Let me make this a little bigger for you. Let me get out of the way. You can set those up, and then you can choose what you want in here too. So if I want to send this part, this is, oh, that's just naming it. Hold on, it's over here. What do I want to, you know, this is my preset. This is the content, the video, the codec, the bit rate, the frame rate, the quality, the audio settings, and everything. Okay, so I've got my output 1 and my output 2. And I close that. I click here. I can configure my outputs so that I've got my stream is taking from mix 1, my stream 2 is taking from mix 2, and I can say, well, is that my master? No, I want to have something else over here. I can pull from any of my aux outputs too. So I have the ability to send multiple things. You know, it was mentioned that it doesn't have enough outputs. Well, here I can send mix 1, MX, mix 1, mix 2, mix 3, and mix 4, and I can have my media, I can have them be inputs. I can have them be multiple source, you know, send my sources to different outputs, so that way I can output my different mixes to and have different sources set to those things. And what that's actually referring to, let me close this. I'm going to go to the audio mixer. You have these mix and effects buses, 1, 2, 3, and 4 here. They're like additional submixers. So if I click on mix 1, M&E1, I should say, it's like a sub switcher. So I can have something switching between other inputs up here, going out ME1, and then set ME1 as one of those outputs. So that can be a completely separate switch than what my main program is. And ME1 is different than ME2, which is different than ME3. Well, here, let me change them. Here's ME3, here's ME2, let's change it to here, and then here's ME1. ME1, ME2, mix and effects 3, mix and effects 4. So I have 4 of those available, and I can send those out separately, completely separate mixes. And then, like I said, if you have a StreamTEK, or you can use a control surface, and you can access those things also via a web interface too. You can access those sub switches, and you can give those sub switches to someone else. So 4 different people can be switching 4 different shows through one Tricaster. I mean, technically down here is a 5th switch, as long as you don't want to use one of those separate MEs. But that is just one of the functionalities that's built in here. And this is where I usually build my, I don't think I have one built. This is where I usually build my virtual sets up here. And then you can go from a camera by itself. Let's just go to camera 5, 4, 5. You can go from a camera by itself and then go to mix and effect here that has that virtual set, and then just be like, you know, okay, dissolve to that set, and then that set would be available. That is, you know, again, one of the things I wanted to have set up for the show, but I just didn't have the time because I was on a trip this past weekend. So apologize for not having everything, but you know, there's only so much time to put into the live show in advance. I think this one, right, you got that one. Windows 7, wow, yes, this one is Windows 7. There was an opportunity for me to upgrade this to Windows 10 through a third party. I opted not to. This is still the way it was when I got it, which is, again, some time ago. This one is probably 10 years old, and it's still chugging away. So, you think about investment in technology. This thing has stood the test of time and more than paid for itself. But yeah, Windows 7. I was going to ask about virtual sets. It can do real virtual moves or static pictures like Vimix. It can do real virtual moves. You can, in the virtual sets that are built into the Tricaster, have a wide shot with me in a big room and 2 monitors, and then you can push in on that virtual set and me, and it will track me and the virtual set together. So it's dealing with all of that in a higher resolution and outputting HD. So the virtual set and me being composited is being done separate from just the output resolution, so that the virtual set, when you zoom in on the virtual set, it doesn't get blocky and icky. Please prep your show better as a host. When you pay me to do it, then I will do it. There's only so much time in the day, and I apologize. This is not a Tricaster tutorial. There are thousands of videos out there to show you how to do a virtual set. This is an introduction to people who are interested in the Tricaster, who don't know anything about the Tricaster, to understand a little bit better what the Tricaster offers as an option for a possible investigation as a solution for you. The Tricaster is very powerful. It's also more expensive than, say, a YOLO box or a Director Mini or a basic vMix setup, because the Tricaster has that depth of engineering built into it, and you're also buying the hardware as well. So in as much as I would love to have all week to prep these shows, I don't. I actually have to do regular production and a lot of other work that pays the bills. But given that I don't have any more questions on the Tricaster itself, I will take this opportunity to say thank you for tuning into today's show. I do these shows. Again, these shows are not sponsored. There's nobody underwriting them. This has not been a paid ad by NewTek or VizRT or a reseller to, put this show on. It is gear that I use, gear that I have, and I put this show together on my own to introduce people to the technology. If you do want to help, you can go to the StreamTEK channel and you can subscribe, like, and do all those fancy things to the StreamTEK channel. That helps me out. You can see there's today's live show and other shows before that. And you can also join on the StreamTEK page. I write for Streaming Media Producer here. You can go to streamingmedia.com and sign up for the Streaming Media Producer newsletters. If you're looking to hire someone to actually, configure something for you or consult, you can reach me at stream4.us, stream for us. We're looking for someone to stream for us. That's me. And then lastly, if you're looking for some gear, I will have Tricasters linked in the description of this. Those will be affiliate links so that I can make 4 cents. And then I also have a partnership with the Videoguys for a StreamTEK curated store here. So I appreciate you all being here. I thank you for tuning into these live shows, and I look forward to seeing you all next week.